Welcome to Shy Society. I wake up in the morning. All right, welcome back to the Existentialists. My name is Tony B. And my friend here, Miguel. We're back for a special session of All I Want for Christmas. Or I'm sorry, I messed that up. I knew I would. All I want for 2021 is a $2,000 stimulus check. Miguel,
what
give
do
me
I
my
want?
money now. Give me my money now. I want a $2,000 stimulus check.
I want
Uncle
$2,000
Sam.
per month, retroactive through the beginning of the pandemic, so back to March. And I want single-payer tax healthcare. Is that too much to ask?
No. Actually, no. It's overdue. But here we are, still fighting the great fight of the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, we are the Existentialists. We are a political commentary YouTube channel ready to engage in difficult conversation. Please, if you're watching us on Facebook, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you for those who have clicked the link in the description box below on the Facebook description box. Thank you. We've seen some of our subscriptions rise very little, but they matter. Every subscription matters. Facebook. If you're on YouTube, please like us, comment, share on Facebook. I put the link down below in the description box on the YouTube channel. So here we are. We've been following this story, and we're back at it again. We're going to talk about what's happening for the $2,000 that President Donald Trump, after 6 months of saying nothing, finally stepped up and said, the American people deserve more money than $600. I call on the Democrats to stop their wasteful spending and give them more. Okay, so President Trump's finally on board. The Existentialists proudly to say we agree with President Trump. Miguel is a radical leftist, so he wants more. He wants retroactive $2,000 for every month. Sorry, no, I'm radical leftist on that too.
No, you're the radical leftist. I'm just saying that the pandemic 2020 radicalized me in wanting fairness. And for me, it would be fair to give Americans $2,000 a month, retroactive back to March. At least for the at least for the remainder of the pandemic, right? We don't have to go forever. Although I am now a proponent of UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, which is the life of a person. So maybe I am a radical
NYC
leftist.
Andrew Yang for NYC mayor. It's coming up. But that's not what this video is about. But Miguel, despite the obvious things that the American people need in a social democratic system that we can aspire to have, what's going on with these $2,000? There's a big fight in the Senate. We know the House passed. By a 2/3 majority vote, they passed the $2,000 stimulus check, the Cash Act. Look up the Cash Act. Nancy Pelosi put up for a vote. Only 44 Republicans voted in favor. 2 Democrats said no. One, Dan Lipinski of Illinois. He's a loser.
Out of here.
On his way out. Mary Newman took his seat. So she's just sad. The other Democrat, I forgot. I don't care. But we won in the House. Now the Senate has to vote for it. Miguel, I want you to tell us, where are we? Why am I not getting a $2,000 check? Or why might I possibly get that check?
It's all Dan Lipinski's fault. If he had voted yes, you would have gotten your money now. That's not true. Here, let me bring up the other name who voted no on the Democrat side. So obviously we have Dan Lipinski. He lost his race against Marie Newman. And now this is a message for Marie Newman, especially since she's my new congresswoman. You're gonna have to fight. I mean, you're gonna have to fight for Americans, right? This vote, he still probably would have voted no, but it was just a bad vote on his part. And then the other Democrat who voted no is, shall we put his face? He looks like a typical white man who doesn't care about else's issues, problems. Kurt Schrader.
Leave it to white people.
No, not white. Just leave it to this white guy. He's out of the 5th district in Oregon. So Oregon, you guys got to primer him. You guys got to do something, you know. So he's up for re-election coming up November 2021. So, yeah, vote him out.
Yo, that's baffling. The state that legalized or decriminalized psychedelic drugs has a guy that won't give $2,000 checks to the American people.
Yeah. Okay.
Priorities,
so,
Oregon. No.
let's bring it back. The CARES Act, which is where the original stimulus came, the $1,200. I don't know what you did with that money, Tony, but I spent it on dollar tacos, all $1,200 of them. It was a horrible investment, and I'll do it again with the $600 or $2,000. So that was in, what was that, March, April? I can't remember, so long ago. But the American people did not get any stimulus since then. So after months of discussions and fighting and just pleading for our government to do something, because the American people are suffering, dying, can't work, finally they brought up this stimulus act at the end of the year, and the amount, instead of being another $1,200, Trump and the Republicans pushed for $600. Actually, the Republicans wanted nothing, but somehow they still ended up on $600, which is half of $1,200. And if you do the math, Tony, what's 600 divided by 365?
600 divided by 365. I'm sorry, there was a glitch in my audio. You couldn't hear what I was saying.
No, so it's $1.64 a day. Can you live off of $1.64, Tony?
No,
I sure
no,
can't.
I don't think so. No, unless it was just nothing but gummy worms.
So you got the $1,200. Even if you were eligible to get $1,200 in the beginning of the pandemic, now you've gone 9-10 months before they're going to give you another stimulus, and that stimulus is only $600. It's half what they gave you beforehand. It's ridiculous. It's nothing. So Trump, that's when he did the Hail Mary. That's when he said, you know what? You played this video. I want $2,000. $600 is a disgrace. It's nothing. Let's give my Americans $2,000. Now, in that speech, Trump didn't say he was going to veto the vote, the bill, I'm sorry, but it was implied that he wanted $2,000 instead of $600. As we know, on Sunday, Trump ended up signing the stimulus bill for $600. But since he had already made the threat that he was going to veto it and wanted $2,000, Nancy Pelosi, and to their credit, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats did what they were supposed to do. They called his bluff. They said, okay, let's go with $2,000. We'll put a bill together. We'll attach it. We'll pass it. And if we can pass it in time, that $600 in the stimulus bill will be increased to $2,000 before it's paid out. So if it passes the Senate and Trump signs off on it, we'll get $2,000 instead of $600. I think we should just get $2,600. Just make it fair. Just give us $2,600.
Why not? Why not?
Okay, coming back. That's what you do. That's how you do. You call his bluff. And I'm honestly surprised, because Trump at this point, he's a lame duck. He doesn't need to do anything. He can just say fuck off. I don't want to sign anything. He can just keep playing golf, which is what he's doing. The fact that he called for those $1,400 increase, which is $2,000, it might be that he is trying to play a little bit of 3D chess. But of course, we know Mitch McConnell plays 4D chess. That guy is just brilliant when it comes to dirty politics. Before we get to that, Tony, what was your reaction when you heard about 2,000 instead of 600? Do you think that was a good move of increasing the stimulus checks from 2,000? This is Trump advocating for 2,000 instead of $600 stimulus checks.
Definitively, it goes without saying, but it must be said. I support the president's challenge on increasing the $600 to $2,000. Every American should. There's people like Senator Rand Paul who says people don't want stimulus checks, and that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? Now, I get it. There's an argument to be made about reopening the economy. We can have that conversation. But for me, the Trump presidency, his administration is late in the game. Representative Ro Khanna, he offered what Miguel was saying at the beginning of the video. We should have had $2,000 every single month until this pandemic is over. Okay, the Republicans, Trump didn't get with that. Even the Democrats, they missed that opportunity. They didn't leverage it. President Trump comes in at the last minute of the deal. When the deal was already made, he assigned Steve Mnuchin. So he's a failure. He's a fraud. But despite my criticism of him being too late, it's about damn time, right? That's where I'm at with him. And I support him on this point that it should not be 600. It should be 2,000. But he's just too late for me. But better late than never, I guess. It's very hard to swallow. That's what she said. No, I'm the only one.
I messed that up. I'm sorry. It is so 2,000. If you divide 2,000 up into a full calendar year, that is $5.48. That sounds a heck of a lot better than $1.64. People desperately need this money. It contrary to what Rand Paul says, giving a person $2,000 over the course of 8-10 months is not going to discourage anyone from working. It's just a floor. It's not a ceiling. That is the language of someone who's out of touch, who doesn't know what Americans are going through. That's Ted Cruz's tweet where he said, "Come and take it." He was talking about Thanksgiving, where millions of Texans are starving. Anyway, so let's move it. Let's move. So the House yesterday voted on Cash Act and increasing the stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000. Passed it. We talked about that already. Now, everyone knew that Mitch McConnell didn't want this increase in stimulus, and he was going to block this vote from coming through. Problem is, there's another bill waiting for Congress, for the Senate to vote on, and that's the National Defense Authorization Act. And this is a bill that comes up every year. And every year, our Congress will allocate ridiculously fucking large amount of money to the military, just the military. So nothing for Social Security, nothing for, Social Security is okay, step back. All the programs that the government funds, whether it be the military, the Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, public education, public works, infrastructure, which would be public works, infrastructure, all of that is gained. All of that revenue is generated from tax payments, capital tax gains, income tax, just a bunch of taxes. And so what Congress does is it looks at the money that it's collected, and then they will allocate. That's the appropriations. That's what happens within the bill. They will allocate certain amounts of that money to those programs. So let's say they'll do, I think every year it's over $1 trillion goes into Medicare. I don't know the specific amount, but Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, they get their portion. The military gets its portion, and then infrastructure gets its portion. Public education gets its portion. And every year, the military budget keeps growing. And so for this year, Congress came up with a $740 billion military bill for the military, the NDEA of 2021. And that bill usually always gets signed at the end of the year before the next year comes through. And it will provide funding for the next year for the military branches. Those are the 5, including the Coast Guard. I know it's actually a military branch.
What about Space Force, though?
I think the Space Force is in there. That's the 6th branch. I'm too old for the Space Force, unfortunately.
What's the amount? What's the amount that the NDAA is offering? Are you familiar? So what I remember, it's $740 billion is the annual amount for the defense, NDAA.
That's what I said.
Oh, did you? I didn't catch that. I'm sorry that I repeated what you said.
Okay.
Right, so it's $740 billion.
Can I bring up the actual text?
Bring up the text. So this is repeat what's happening here. The NDAA was vetoed by President Trump. There's a reason behind that, but the point right now is that is being coupled with The Senate can just override the president's veto. The NDAA can be signed into law without the president's approval. And what they're doing is the Senate's going to pass it despite the veto from the president. That's going to be attached to the $2,000 stimulus check. At least that's what the master politician, Senator Mitch McConnell, is pulling off right now. He has the ball in his court because Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats said to the Republicans, here, put a vote up. Let's see who really stands with the president on $2,000. Now Mitch McConnell is saying, okay, we're going to attach the NDAA and the president's problem with it, with the $2,000. Let's see if you vote yes on this now. So it's ridiculous. But Miguel, are you pulling up this NDAA document?
Yes, and I'm looking for the Space Force amount. I might have to just Google this. Okay, Space Force NDAA for 2021.
We must know. We have to know this.
I know. Well,
right. So while he's looking for that, let's just kind of go slightly into what the problem is. Right? What is President Trump's problem with the NDAA?
Oh, perfect. You actually provided some of that background that I was going to get to. So thank you. So Congress also passed the NDAA Act of 2021, which would fund the military for the year going forward. And Trump vetoed it because, too bloated, whatever. He just vetoed it. No, you gave a reason for why he vetoed it, correct, Tony?
President Trump, why President Trump vetoed it?
Yes.
Yes, he was against. Well, no, he vetoed the NDAA because of Section 230. I did not. I just said it for the first time right now.
Okay.
So, yes.
So Trump vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2021 because a repeal of Section 230 was not included. We'll get to Section 230, was not included within the text of the NDAA. So what happens is that Congress, once a bill has been vetoed, Congress can actually push that bill into law by overriding the veto. So they have to get, I think, 2/3 majority, whereas bills usually pass by a simple majority. So in this case, they have to pass it through again. And when it comes to the military, politicians will fall in line. And there's no doubt in my mind that an overriding vote will pass with ease in Congress. However, Bernie Sanders, he says, he came out with a brilliant tactic, forcing Mitch McConnell to bring a vote. Again, hashtag force the vote. Bring the $2,000 stimulus check bill from the House onto the Senate floor, or I will block the National Defense Authorization Act well until the new year. So that means that the senators will not be able to leave Congress, Congressional Hill, during New Year, and then that also takes away from Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue from campaigning in Georgia. There's a runoff election in Georgia for 2 Senate seats, and those 2 Senate seats will determine the balance of Senate. But before we get into that, go ahead and what are you going to show us, Tony?
I'm showing it right now. This is exactly what Miguel was talking about. Bernie Sanders wants to delay the defense veto. So they have the majority. They can override the president easily. And this is going to happen with or without Bernie Sanders filibustering. So that's important to know. Miguel points out that this impacts the campaign efforts of Loeffler and Perdue. Is that correct? The Georgia senators, Republican senators, need to keep their Senate seats in order for the Republicans to have a majority. So this is very wise on Bernie Sanders, but it's also wise because finally, I don't know why we didn't elect this man as the Democratic nominee for presidency. Oh, I do know why. Low voter information, centrist mentality, boo, boo, boo. Joe Biden's a fraud. I don't get it still. Look, Sanders is doing the right thing here. He's challenging the love affair with the military industrial complex. Even though they're still going to win. This guy's doing the right thing. And all he's asking for them to get $740 billion, which is an increase from what they usually get. All he's asking is for $2,000 for every American. And I think that adds up to what? About 500 billion. I think that's what it's estimated. It's about 400 something billion dollars for every American to receive $2,000. 740 billion for the military, about 500 billion for Americans to help their lives, to fucking fight these bread lines, the homelessness that's coming, the laws, the losing of housing. Wow. Yeah, so this is important, but there's something going on. There's something going on. Miguel.
Now, let me, before we get to that, I need to make a clear distinction for people. Our military and, in extension, our post office are not meant to generate profits. So what that means is that every year we allocate money to the Army, to the Marines, to the military forces, and to the post office, and both of those agencies lose money. They don't generate profit, but that's fine because they're essential services that we need in this country. We need our post office to run. We need our military, although it's extremely bloated. We don't expect a profit out of either, and that's fine because they serve our country. Okay, so $740 billion going to the military, and we're not getting a return on that. Nothing economic, okay? Nothing economic, or it's very indirect. It's removed. It's far removed. However, if you give 450 billion to the American people in the form of the stimulus check, that money will go immediately back into the economy. You're paying rent, you're paying for food. People who have that extra money, they can spend it on luxuries, traveling. I don't know why people should be traveling, but fuck, like you can actually do things with this money. Why wouldn't you? It just makes sense. Just give them $2,000 checks and you will see how it comes back into the economy.
And this is just because I want to transition to what's happening now. Sanders wants to filibuster. He won't allow a vote, keeping Congress in session till New Year's Day. Look, the Democrats, what they fail to realize, because a lot of them are on the side of the military-industrial complex, they can leverage this issue. It might be an election loss, like they might take a hit later, but there's enough people in America that are tired of the war machine. They're tired of the endless wars, the regime change wars. This should always be leveraged because this is the one thing that makes Republicans cry at night. At least that's the mainstream Republican Party, right? Sanders gets it. The fact that other Democrats don't, like Tammy Duckworth, for instance. Tammy Duckworth, our senator of Illinois, and Dick Durbin of Illinois. These individuals, they don't get it and they wouldn't leverage. And this is where I let Miguel come in. What's going on with Sanders' stance? Because he announced this Monday night, and it's Tuesday already. Where are we with this stance? Let's see where we are. What do the Democrats think?
So let me just stop sharing. So the Senate vote could have been done today because the House sent it to the Senate today. So the Senate could have voted on these stimulus checks today. However, we know that what's his name, Mitch McConnell blocked it. And I just looked. I am on Tammy Duckworth, she's our senator, one of our senators. Her Twitter mentions nothing about stimulus checks. She's not in support of them. She's not coming out against them. Mind you, she is a former veteran. So I strongly believe she would be against Bernie's. I strongly think she would be against Bernie's push to block the National Defense Authorization Act vote in favor of the stimulus checks.
Well, she did call out President Trump in her tweet, saying pretty much that because the NDAA gives military service members a raise, I'm all for giving military members a raise. But she uses that because Trump is vetoed it. She says, you're pretty much against our troops. I'm pretty sure that the likes of Senator Duckworth and others would say Bernie Sanders is against our troops. No, that's a bad argument because it's going to pass no matter what. He's only delaying it to leverage against the Republican opposition to $2,000 stimulus checks. And here,
So there you go. This is the tweet. Tammy Duckworth is okay with voting to override the veto, but nothing on her Twitter says that she's for the stimulus checks. So she's putting the military before the American people, and they should come both hand in hand. Okay. And now the other.
Can I mention one last thing? One last thing about Senator Duckworth, and then I want Miguel to show us what's happening with another prominent Democrat, a leader. Here is an idea that Senator Sanders had with Senator Markey of Massachusetts. This was an initiative to cut the Pentagon budget, so the $740 billion, by 10%. This was back in July, and that would have gone towards jobs, healthcare, education. So only 10% of that and that 10% was an add-on. It was a 10% increase. So they're only saying, let's go back to the military budget the way it was, and let's take that 10% that was added and use it to help the American people during the pandemic. Guess what, though? Guess what? When it comes to those ideas, you have people like Tammy Duckworth voting in favor of an NDAA at $740 billion. Even Dick Durbin of Illinois. So all these senators, they will pretty much say, yes, we agree with the NDAA and its increase without opposition. And then you have only a few. You only have a very few, like Rand Paul, who votes based on ideology. Bernie Sanders, Warren, Miguel's favorite senator. See, Cruz, Booker. These are only 13 people voted against the NDAA. Tammy Duckworth will always support a military budget. She's a veteran. I get it. But the increase, you should have came out and supported Markey and Sanders having 10% of that $740 billion and helping the American people during a pandemic, damn it. Miguel, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to point that out because it's so important that we're having this conversation and people are actually standing up to the military-industrial complex, which is not even a real victory because it's going to pass. But please, what else is happening with Sanders' noble stand?
Now let's get to Dick Durbin because he's the other Illinois senator, and he's actually the minority whip senator in the Senate for the Democrats. And he just gives the most disappointing answer or speech on the Senate. And from this tweet, it reads, Democratic whip senator. Hold on, I forgot to share the sound. Let me go ahead and share the sound. Oh, it is sharing. My bad. What am I sharing? What do you see? Do you see Dick Durbin?
Yes, you're up. You're there. Look at that guy.
Democratic whip senator Durbin rejects Bernie Sanders' proposal to hold up the NDAA to force the vote on the stimulus increase because the importance of pay raise for troops, support for Ukraine and the Baltic states, and renaming military bases named after Confederate leaders. All right, first of all, yes, we should pay our troops. They're going to get paid. Support for Ukraine and Baltic states. This is in direct I saw you raise that thumb.
But no, thumbs up.
You like it, I don't. This is in direct opposition of Russia. Now, I'm not a Russian asset. I'm not a Russian puppet. What this is that's meant to escalate tensions with Russia. And I don't want war with Russia. I don't want war at all. And then the last part, renaming military bases. If you're going to hold up stimulus checks to rename bases, honestly, fine. I'm okay with Fort General Lee Custer as long as people get their $2,000. I'm fine with it. So let's listen to this poor excuse of a senator. Let's see the BS he's going to say.
They came up with a good bill, one I was proud to support. This annual legislation has been signed into law for 6 consecutive decades. When the Senate fails to do anything, they always do the National Defense Authorization Bill. It shows that Congress can come together, at least on this measure, when it comes to supporting our men and women in uniform and keeping our country safe. This year, the bill authorizes $740.5 billion in defense spending. It provides another 3% well-deserved pay raise for our troops. It also recognizes that many in the armed forces are on the front lines here at home as well, helping fight the ongoing COVID-19 epidemic, providing our troops with necessary benefits and protections, including a 10% increase in hazardous duty pay. The bill also includes a number of provisions that I authored and supported, including language expressing strong support for the Baltic states and Ukraine, especially in the face of continued, unforgivable Russian aggression. It requires the renaming of military bases in the United States, which were once named in honor of Confederate generals, those who served in the Confederacy in an attempt to secede from the Union and to defend the institution of slavery, have been enshrined in the names of these bases for many, many years. This effort to rename them is long, long overdue. It tries to correct and recognize the mistakes of our past and really address the sensitive racial inequities at the Pentagon.
All right, Tony, I'm back. So what did you think of that little speech?
So, like, you can care for all those things. That's not the argument. He's obviously trying to stick it to the president. He's focused on why the president is opposed. There's the argument, if you're for Confederate names of military bases, you're evil, you're bad. You know what? I'd rather have military bases have Confederate names so long as I get a $2,000 check. The cultural war is not a good trade-off for my well-being and the well-being of American lives. They're gonna get it passed, dude. Bernie Sanders alone cannot just filibuster and it doesn't get overridden. That's it. Sanders knows what he's capable of. You should just support his weak battle. That's it. It's just a weak battle, a 5-day battle, and boom. You eventually have to get it signed or override the president. It's going to happen. Focus on using it as leverage, damn it. That's our senator in Illinois.
Oh, he's... I hate Dick Durbin. Okay, so now Bernie Sanders, now he has opposition from the Democrats and from the Republicans who are blocking it. However, all this comes to a head because, as I mentioned earlier, the National Defense Authorization Act should be renewed. It needs to be renewed before the new year, so the senators can go back home. So they only have up until Thursday. Thursday is the last day they can do this. Now, the important thing to remember is there is also a runoff election in Georgia, and that includes 2 Senate seats, like we've been talking about. It's Kelly Loeffler, who should be honestly indicted for insider trading, and David Perdue. Both of them are Republicans, both of them are incumbents, and they're going up against Ossoff, and what's the other guy's name, Tony? I always forget the other guy's name.
I said Purdue earlier. I think that's wrong.
No, Perdue is okay. No. Okay. So anyway.
No, so many names.
Okay. So Perdue and Loeffler are the Republican candidates in Georgia.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's John Ossoff and I'm going to hate myself. Warnock.
I think it's Warnock.
Warnock. They're the Democrats.
They're the challengers.
Who have made it this far to have a runoff election against Loeffler and Perdue. So it's very precarious for Loeffler and Perdue because if they come out against the stimulus checks and they vote against the stimulus checks, well, then now that gives ammunition to Warnock and to Ossoff to say, your senators saw you suffer through this pandemic, and instead of giving you an increase of $2,000 from $600, they decided to veto the increase and made you suffer and made you continue suffering through this pandemic. So in a weird twist of fate, I think that's the saying. Just today, David Perdue came out in support of the $2,000 stimulus checks. God, this is so sweet. He had a tweet, President real Donald Trump is right. I support this push for $2,000 in direct relief for the American people. Like, that's just, they feel the heat on the back. Like, this is how you get politicians to actually do stuff. You either force the vote, you withhold a vote for speakership. Now, this is actually talking about AOC and the Medicare. Like, you withhold things from politicians for your vote, and you force them to do things. Okay, Vosh, you need to learn this too, because you're a fucking dumbass. That was just my little spiel on Vosh. Because now he's actually in support of the stimulus checks on his Twitter and whatnot, and it's the same tactics as forced to vote for Medicare for all as it is for the stimulus checks. And then Kelly Loeffler, the other Republican senator who has her seat in the runoff election, she tweeted today, "I agree with real Donald Trump. We need to deliver 2,000 direct relief checks to the American people." Tony, I mean, isn't forcing politicians to do the right thing always the best method for getting what you want implemented into law?
That's politics 101. Applying public pressure is politics. You need to apply pressure. You need it, even if they're your allies. Look at them. They felt the pressure. They're feeling the pressure. Now the tape, it's all on Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans. Now, for me, I like Loeffler and Perdue coming down to realizing 2000 is necessary, but they're all too late because it's obviously a grab for power. It's insulting. And everyone's going to be like, oh, look at them. See, they were for it. Why weren't they for it before November 3rd? Why did Trump could have done this before November 3rd, and he might have won the election. He might have won. Who knows? 75 million votes is a big deal. It's not a big deal as Joe Biden's lead, but it's still a big deal. Imagine those Senate seats might have just been falling right back into Republican hands in Georgia, and President Trump might not be leaving the White House come January 21st. Impressive move. Yes, we should apply political pressure always, everyone. Always. Oh, so what is so here we are. So far, I think we have Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. He's backing it up. Mark Rubio of Florida, another Republican. Loeffler, Perdue. I can't recall what other Republican, but there's about 5 to 6 Republicans in the Senate, and the Democrats need at least 12 to match their 48 or so, and that's if all Democrats agree. And then they got the independents to join them, Bernie Sanders and Markey. You know, that's the situation, the best case scenario. But what about Donald Trump, Miguel? Right now, Mitch McConnell today, he blocked Schumer's effort to put the stimulus, the Cash Act, $2,000 stimulus checks. Mitch McConnell blocked it. It could have happened today. Mitch McConnell blocked it, and Trump response. Do you have that for us?
I don't have Trump's response. I was actually gonna...
I have it right here. President Donald Trump, this is what he said when Mitch McConnell blocked it. So instead of really calling out Mitch McConnell, he says, unless Republicans have a death wish, it is also the right thing to do. They must approve the 2,000 payments ASAP. 600 is not enough. This is after the fact, and he links a Washington Post article saying McConnell blocks Senate Democrats' initial attempt to approve $2,000. Yes, this is on the Republicans. President Trump is calling out saying, do they have a death wish? I wish he had this attitude from the beginning of this whole pandemic. He didn't, but I keep shitting on him because he's a fraud to me, but he's right. The Republicans need to pay for not serving the people. But it's so amazing that Mitch McConnell, he will not receive any consequences. So it's such a shame that Trump is doing this so late. That's why Loeffler, Perdue are getting behind, because they don't want to lose their power. For them, it's all about power.
So
it's disgusting.
You bring up a great point. Mitch McConnell, He's the sneakiest legislator on Congress, on Capitol Hill. He will force things down people's throats, and he also has those backroom dealings where he just knows how to play people. Okay, so now the pressure is on GOP to push the stimulus check increase of $2,000 through the Senate, so then Trump can sign off on it, and then people will get that increase. Okay, so I honestly think I think that Loeffler and Perdue tweeted those because Mitch McConnell did have an ace in his back pocket, and his ace that he's going to play is, let me pull it up. Mitch McConnell introduced legislation Tuesday to combine two additional demands from President Trump to an expansion of direct stimulus payments as part of the COVID-19 relief package, raising Democratic concern that the pathway for expanded stimulus payments would be short-circuited. The Kentucky Republican, shortly before adjourning the Senate on Tuesday afternoon, introduced a bill that would combine increased direct payments with a repeal of the online liability protections on Section 230 and the establishment of a commission to study voter fraud. The latter two issues have been significant drivers of Trump's ire in the wake of his general election loss, the latter of which with zero evidence presented to the point. Let me just cite my source really quickly. It is CNN. It's McConnell moves to combine Trump ask and potential poison pill for stimulus checks. I need to cite my sources. If it's not evident, it's fine. If it's not evident, I need to cite it.
Can we touch on the latter stipulation first? Because that one seems simple to me. The commission. So in order for $2,000 checks to pass in the Senate, Mitch McConnell has said the president wants a commission to investigate voter fraud. For me, that's a no-brainer. Just do it. You know, if Democrats oppose that, it makes them look like they're hiding something. Even Attorney General Barr has said, we looked. The DOJ said, we looked. There's nothing here. Just fucking give them the commission. That's all I have to say about that.
Not only that, again, I'm going to pull up CNN, but do you remember what McConnell did earlier this month? Which leads me to believe that he doesn't give a shit about the voter fraud allegations or actually investigating anything. But McConnell, for the first time, he recognized Biden as president-elect. In his mind, Trump's gone. He's out of the door. So he only added that provision to further kill the stimulus payment provision of the bill. Mm-hmm. You see how fucking sneaky this man is? He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's at this point. I honestly think Mitch McConnell, during the whole time, he also wanted Trump to lose because he hates Trump, and as long as he's in charge of the Senate, he basically rules the U.S. government.
The most powerful man in the Republican Party. You would think it's Trump, but it's, I don't know. Maybe we're off. Maybe it's not Trump or Mitch McConnell. But for the face value, Mitch McConnell is much more powerful than Donald Trump.
And now let's add that first part. Let's talk about it. Section 230, a quick rundown, because you guys know I love to look at my statutes. And now
this is the NDAA. This subsection 230 is in the defense spending bill, the $740 billion we talked about, the NDAA. Trump just wants to repeal 230. So this is what Miguel's getting into.
No, say that again. Repeat that.
Trump wants to repeal section 230 of it within the NDAA.
Okay, yeah. Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
So this is another stipulation. In order for us to get $2,000, Senate Democrats are being trapped. Agree with the president on repealing 230, give him a commission on voter fraud, and then Americans can have $2,000. If you don't do that stuff, well, then it's your fault, Democrats. It's political brilliance. Mitch McConnell. Wow.
That's how you do it. You have to either hamstring the other side, or you just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. Okay, so it's code 40. It's 47 U.S. Code section 230, and this section reads protection for private blogging and screening of offensive material. Findings: the Congress in section A, subsection 1, the rapidly developing array of internet and other interactive computer services. This term is extremely important, okay? the definition of which means any information service IS system or access software provider that provides or enables computer access by multiple users to a computer server, including specifically a service or system that provides access to the internet and such systems operated or services offered by libraries or educational institutions. This is your Google, your Yahoo, your YouTube, your Facebook, your Twitter. And the ire of Trump is really against Facebook and Twitter because they keep censoring his tweets or his status updates. Now, come down to section C, subsection 1, and it reads the protection for Good Samaritan, blocking and screening of offensive material. The subsection 1 reads the treatment or publisher or speaker. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker or any information provided by another information content provider. And what that means is in subsection 2, no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of any action voluntarily taken in good faith. What this basically gets to, we don't have to get too into it, is these internet service providers and these platform providers cannot be sued for what is published on their platform. It creates a liability shield. They're just platforms. They're not publishers. So they're not endorsing what's being published on their website. They just provide the public square, if you will, for people to express themselves. And that's what Trump wants to get rid of. Is there anything else you want to add, Tony?
You know, I think that's the risk of all of this, right? What it's saying is if we repeal that, are we saying that a private entity is now owned by the public? That seems like it's slipping into the realm of commodifying, not commodifying, but creating a public commodity out of social media. So we're like the government is reining in on private industry like a communist, like a socialist. So it's so ironic that President Trump is attacking free speech, free enterprise. That is the business. I don't understand how Republicans are standing by this without shouting in tears and anger. The free speech war, remember the leftists are against free speech. I don't get this. Maybe it's going beyond my head. This is worth talking about.
Yes, let me come back to it. This is where I messed up. I'm sorry that I cut it short, but this subsection 2, so it's 47 U.S. Code section 230, subsection C, subsection 1, subsection A, or actually 2. Civil liability. No provider or user of an interactive computer service, again, this is your Facebook, this is your Twitter, shall be held liable on account of any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, filthy, lascivious, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, which in this case would be alternative facts, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. So this section, this is the actual section that is very pertinent. This allows Facebook and Twitter to brand Trump's statuses and tweets as misleading without them incurring any liability for doing so, because it gives them the freedom to regulate their platform without restricting any First Amendment speech rights. And this is a section that Trump wants to repeal, specifically this little part. That's why it's so important. And I'm telling you, I mean, it's just, that would just open up the internet and the service providers to so many lawsuits. It would create a waterfall.
Right. Yeah.
It would end the internet as we know it.
Imagine political groups across the spectrum, maybe inciting violence because of something they said. Guess what? Now, when you're trying to hold the individuals accountable, Facebook has to pay the consequence. They allowed that on their platform, even though they try to get rid of a lot of content. Trust me, they put people in Facebook jail. A lot of people are upset about these things because there's this idea that Facebook and other social media platforms are the new public square. And so free speech should reign. As far as I'm concerned, fact-checking people is still free speech. and it's free enterprise that the social medias, they have the right to regulate their own companies. So it really goes to have it both ways when you can only really argue the latter. It has to be a free public square with full government intervention protecting everyone. It can't just be on a silly whim that the president is offended and Republicans and conservatives are mad. Leftists are mad too. I've had a video on YouTube censored. That made me upset, right? But I don't want the repeal of 230 unless someone can make a valid argument why. On my only valid argument is that Facebook and all of them, they're no longer privately owned. It becomes a public utility. That's the only argument that I can see as convincing. And I'm not even sure if I'm fully there yet. So, it seems like no one's going to get $2,000 because the Democrats, they're not going to challenge Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley donates lots of revenue to the Democratic Party. There's some Republican. But you challenge Silicon Valley in California, the new mecca for tech, probably won't happen. And the Republicans, they're doing this on purpose. They're doing it because they know that the Democrats will fold. And even Republicans will probably be like, free speech. I don't know where this goes, Miguel. I just don't know.
Oh God, I let's play politician. What can you do?
Okay, I have an idea, but it's dangerous. Vosh might hate me for this because it's a bad strategy. It's on principle.
It's on principle. That's what I was
on
say.
Principle, I say vote. Oh, can you hear me? Am I there? On principle, I say vote yes for the $2,000 stimulus. Give President Trump the commission on voter fraud. Repeal Section 230 and just wait for the lawsuits to flood in. Just wait for it. And I bet Congress will act immediately to restore Section 230. I have a feeling that Silicon Valley's power and its influence in Congress will fight back even if it's repealed under President Joe Biden. Trump is leaving. There's a chance to restore this. And then guess what? We still get $2,000. The problem is Silicon Valley has to deal with all these lawsuits and counter lawsuits, right? I think the repeal will create a huge battle in the courts. So I think politically, just go for it. Vote yes. And blame President Trump for the repeal of it. Blame the Republican Party.
Oh my God, I don't know, man. I honestly
Is that a bad strategy? Is that a bad strategy?
I really don't know. Because if you vote no against it, now Americans don't get those. They don't get the checks, and Mitch McConnell just laughs off into the sunset because he's a piece of shit. I really think he's a animated corpse. I cannot believe that man actually has real blood pumping through his veins. Okay, funny enough, we'll keep thinking about that. I went back, Tony, and I looked and I found how much is being allocated to the Space Force. Yay, I finally found it.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it. It's a good way to end it. I love it. Space Force.
So the Space Force is being for total research, development, test, and evaluation of the Space Force. This column, now the headers are all the way up the top. It's like 6 pages up there. I'm not going to scroll up there, but this column is the proposed amount, and the column to the right is the actual. And the actual, what happened? Nothing?
No. I farted. Sorry.
That's okay. And the actual is 10. No, this is in thousands. So you have to add 3 zeros after this. It's 10 billion, $10.4 billion. That's for testing and evaluation. And then there's more over there. So it's only a small number. It's about 15 billion is actually being allocated to the Space Force. There's another, I got to bring up the other one. Where is it? Here it is. 10.4 billion. And then total operation and maintenance is another $2.5 billion. Let's see what else there is. So there's a few 77 million for total operation and maintenance. Yeah, so it looks like those are the three. More research and development for the Space Force. Now this is 146 million. Bring it up, transfer to the Space Force. That's actually not being funded. So here's another 2 billion, spare parts and repair, 2.3 billion. So it all adds up to about 15 billion, $15.5 billion is being allocated to the Space Force with the 2021. I know you wanted that for a fun little piece of trivia. Now, what I think, oh God, you've gotten to this point where you have the stimulus checks. What I think you need to do is either public pressure campaign against Mitch McConnell to remove at least Section 230 and just leave the commission and the stimulus checks. Or this might be crazy. You add something else on there. Hey, we want to vote for another bill, which that I don't think that would pressure McConnell to actually put the bill on the floor. That would just kind of shy him away from actually putting anything on the floor. So it's tough. It's a very tough position that the Democrats are in right now. I think that they should do a public pressure campaign, and I mean just pressure, just bully him, use the bully pulpit against him. I really don't know what else they can do at this point.
Well, so I'm gonna take a point from your playbook. I'm going to paraphrase, okay? Senator Mitch McConnell is a soulless gathering, a clump of cells, and I don't think the public pressure campaign is going to do much. It has to come from President Trump. It has to come from the base of the Republican Party. But even then, Mitch McConnell is unstoppable. He is stuck in the Senate for 6 more years. He had an opposition, Amy McGrath. She lost terribly. This guy needs to be checked. The Georgia voters have the power in their hands right now. So that's the only real way. The real public pressure needs to happen with shutting down those Senate races, calling Loeffler, calling Perdue against the $2,000. Even though they said it publicly, just say, where were you? Where were you? You voted for the NDAA. You weren't for $2,000 when Ro Khanna spit it out. You weren't for any of this. You came a little too late. Democrats have been for stimulus. That's the only public pressure that might work. Public pressuring Mitch McConnell can only come from Trump, in my opinion. And even that, I think McConnell is just mastered what he's doing. You don't have to like the guy, but you know that what he's doing is effective. It's such a shame. Yeah.
So I agree with you. He needs to learn to lose. He actually needs to learn that his actions have consequences. And it would be, the best part would be if he did lose Georgia, and we could probably try another stimulus bill coming into, because at this moment we have $600 in the bag. We want two full 2,000. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get the $600, not the $2,000. And someone really needs to push Georgia to vote for Warnock and for Ossoff.
Yes.
So then that way Mitch McConnell cannot be an obstructionist for the next 4 years. Tony, if you have anything else, please wrap it up. I am finished talking about Mitch McConnell. I need to go bathe in acid right now.
Everyone watching, thank you for your viewership. Shout out to Gerardo Nava. Everyone, please make sure you like the Existentialist video itself. Click on the video, like it, comment, show us you're watching, share. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. We will be releasing more content. Please check out some of our content, including our endorsement of Nina Turner, our call out of Vosh, a YouTuber, the constant battle of hashtag force the vote, forcing progressive Democrats to leverage the vote for Nancy Pelosi. There is a town hall going on with Jimmy Dore, hashtag force the vote. Check out that town hall. Make sure you check us out. We'll be supporting progressive movements. We really appreciate your viewership. Miguel, it's always great to have you here with me. as much as we love the sound of Tony B's voice, we cannot get enough of that beautiful, beautiful beard.
Thank you.
All
I'm
right,
actually
everyone.
going to shave it off after this.
All right, everyone, we're the Existentialists, and that is us. Peace out.
Oh, that's loud.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Welcome to Shy Society. I wake up in the morning.